let's solve this. So first thing we're going to ask is -6 a solution? So for this, we're going to plug in -6 to all of these different inequalities, and we're going to see if it's true. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with number 3. So I'm going to plug in -6 for C, and then I'm going to check it. -6 plus 4 is less than -1. I'm going to solve this side. This equals -2. Is -2 less than -1? The answer is yes. Okay, it is. It's a higher negative number, so that means it's a lower number, right? Everything's backwards in negative. Okay, let's plug it in for M now. So we're plugging in -6. Okay. And for this one, I need to remember that subtracting a negative number is like adding a number. So this is actually 5 plus 6, less than or equal to 10. So 5 plus 6 equals 11. And is 11 less than or equal to 10? Well, no, it's not. It's greater than. So the answer here is no, not a solution. Okay. And then let's plug it into the last one. So we got 21 divided by -6 greater than or equal to -3.5. So if I were to plug this in, I know that 18 divided by 6 is 3. And so it ends up being, I need another 3 to get to 21. So this is -3.5. It's greater than or equal to -3.5. Well, those are the same number. And the question is it greater than or equal to? So because of the equal to right here, because of this piece right there, I know that the answer is yes, it is. Okay, so that's how you do those ones. Let's go ahead and move on to graphing inequalities. And before you start feeling despair over this, just know that this type of graphing is a lot easier than the graphing we've been doing. This is just using a number line, okay? So here's the table I want you to copy down for graphing inequalities. So note something. I'm going to talk about this while you're writing this down. So note that whenever we have the x or the variable touching the small side, right? This is an alligator mouth. It's touching the small side. And notice it's touching the small side over here as well. We want the graph to go to the left, okay? A lot of people get this mistaken. They try and make their arrow head match the inequality, but that doesn't always work, because what happens if the variable is on the other side? Then you have to think of it backwards. So it's not a very good method doing it that way. So the best way to remember is that the left, so left is small, okay? So if left makes it smaller, we're going to ask where the x is positioned. If it's touching the smaller side, then we know that it's going to go to the left. Just like over here, even though the arrow's pointed the other way, since our variable is on this side, it's on the small side, that means it's going to go to the left, okay? So you're going to ask, where's the variable? So where is my variable? And you're going to check what side it's on. And here it's on the small side, okay? So small means left, okay? All right. And so large means going to the right. So right is large. Okay, so the large side of the inequality. So first we're tracking the variable. Remember, we're always looking at the variable, not necessarily the numbers. So the large side of the variable, or the large side of the sign, is touching the variable, so it's going to go to the right, okay? And another thing we're going to look for, now that we got the sides down, now that we got the right direction figured out, we're going to look and see if it needs to be an open circle or a closed dot, right? So for this one, since we have this equal sign right here, the equal to part means we're going to fill in. We're going to fill in that dot, right? So that tells the reader that they're going to include the number that it lands on, okay? So that's something to keep in mind. So this line means closed, okay? So the line means closed. No line means open. And that's like these examples, right? No line means open, okay? All right, let's do an example so we can see what this is talking about. So if I'm looking at y is less than or equal to -3, okay? I'm going to go ahead and show you what the graph should look like. So I'm going to create a number line that includes the number -3. It needs to include a number -3, and it needs to include numbers beside it on either side, so you can see what direction it's going to go. So I'm looking at my table here. First thing I'm going to look for is it open or closed? So that's my first thing. So number 1, open or closed. And here we choose closed. And the reason we choose closed is because, just like what we highlighted before, the dot is closed because of the line, right? Because it's equal to. All right, and then the second question is to the left or to the right, okay? So once we drop that dot down on -3 right here, now we gotta ask, is it gonna go to the left, or is it gonna go to the right, or is it gonna go to the left here? Well, let's see where the y is. So remember that the y is touching, or the variable is touching, the small side. Since the y is touching the small side, we know it's going to go to the left here, okay? And so that's why we have an arrow pointed to the left. And we're just going to make it nice and bold when we do that, okay? Another way that you could do this, you don't have to do the dot and the arrow on the line. Sometimes I accept, or actually all the time, I accept people putting a dot above and then showing the arrow on top. That's totally fine. Either way, you can do either of these. I actually prefer doing it this way because it's a little bit less confusing to me. Because sometimes I can't tell what you're doing on the graph because it's being hidden by other things. Okay, go ahead and do numbers 6 through 9 all on page 107. And pause the video and come back and see the answers. So go ahead and pause the video right now. All right, welcome back. So let's go ahead and finish this off. So we've got 6 is b is greater than -8. So we're going to follow our directions. First, we're going to ask, is it open or closed? For this one, there's no line underneath, so it's open. So I'm going to put an open circle right above -8. Okay? And I got to ask, is it going to go to the left or to the right? Well, I track my variable, and I see that it's on the big side. This is the big side, so that means I'm going to go to the right side, okay? All right, number 7. Once again, I'm going to ask myself, open or closed? Well, I have the line underneath, so it's going to be closed this time. So I'd put a big closed dot here. And then I ask myself, to the left or to the right? Well, the G is touching the small side, so it's going to the left. Okay. Now I go to 8. Number 8, I ask myself, open or closed? It's open because there's no line underneath, so I do an open circle right above -2. And then I ask myself, to the right or to the left? Well, this variable is touching the small side, so it goes to the left. Okay. And then finally, number 9. Ooh, okay, so this one's kind of tricky because now I have a square root of 36. So before I can actually make a graph here, I need to actually solve this. And for now, even though there's technically two answers to the square root of 36, we're just going to use the positive answer, and the answer here is 6. So now I need to make a graph based on that. So let me show you how I start with the graph. So I'm going to just put the number that I know I want on the graph, which is 6, and then I'm going to start filling in numbers around it. 7, 8, 9, and if I'm going backwards, it's 5, 4, 3, right? Just making sure that you have the number that you want and the numbers around it, okay? So we can see what direction it's going. Open or closed? Well, this one's going to be closed because of the line. And then to the right or to the left? Well, the V is on the big side. Since it's on the big side, I know my numbers are increasing, so it's going to go to the right, okay? All right, so that is section 3.1, and you can go ahead and get started on the homework.